Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast, NFL Every Game on the Board, with our first handicapper, Robbie Vino. Rob, how you feeling?
I am doing good today, Drew. How about yourself? Happy Friday, first of all. Nice big football weekend ahead of us.
Happy Friday to you too, Robbie. And I know it's feeling good for you, man, off of a 5-0 night. MLB, NFL, college football, all winners for you, man. 5-0 nights are always nice. Also 10-3 in college football since last Saturday. So good stuff, Robbie. How you feeling, man?
Yeah. And, you know, when it all goes to plan, we're always happy, right? I think every day that we bet games and release plays to clients, we always feel like they're the best and they're winners when we release them and when it all comes to fruition, like last night did. Last night was a fairly easy night as far as the games were concerned. The Twins were the only one that gave us a hair bit of difficulty. But, yeah, when it works out like that, Drew, you know, it feels great.
Good stuff, Robbie. Well, let's get the listeners some winners here, at least on some right sides. Starting off at the top of the card, we'll have two segments here, guys, for the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast. So in this first segment, Robbie and I will be going down to the New York Jets, New England Patriots, 473-474. But let's start off at the top of the card here, Robbie. 461-462 Denver Broncos at the Green Bay Packers, seeing 43 the total, with 7 or 7.5. That's the Packers laying in Lambeau. Yeah,
it's, you know, at first glance, Drew, it looks like a fairly easy play toward the home team, Green Bay. It's not that hard to bet against Denver at this point in time. And, of course, Green Bay had the victory over Minnesota last week, but I'm not so sure it's that easy this week. You know, you take a closer look at the Green Bay Packers and what they did last week. They scored 21 points at the 13-minute mark of the second quarter, and then the rest of the second quarter and the entire second half, they never score again. So they scored 3 touchdowns extremely quickly, never scored again. The offense hasn't looked very good for 2 weeks now. The Bears game, the first game, and then, of course, the Vikings game. Now, divisional rivalries and, you know, limited offense can be expected when you're putting those two really, really top-notch defenses against you. But I'm a little bit skeptical of Green Bay's offensive capabilities at this point in time. I know there's a new system in place. Aaron Rodgers keeps saying that they're trying to, you know, it's a work in progress, and they think they're making some progress. But Denver happens to get a couple of guys back on the defensive side this week that's going to help out. Bryce Callahan, corner that they acquired from the Chicago Bears, free agency-wise, and Todd Davis, their inside linebacker, which gets Denver back in position. They had some guys playing out of position in Vic Fangio's new defense. They're going to cause some trouble for Green Bay on the defensive side. All that being said, I'm not real sure that I like Denver's offensive matchup against Green Bay, which leads me to the logical conclusion of under here in this game, Drew. We're looking at a game that opened 43.5. It's down to 43. I would think under 43 in that contest is a good way to go.
All right, Robbie. Second game up, we got the Detroit Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Looks like the Eagles laying 6 at home, 45.5 being the total, Robbie.
Yeah, and I think if you like over, Drew, get there now, because the game came down considerably off the 49.5 opener down to 45, certainly based on all the injuries we saw stack up in that Sunday night football game against the Atlanta Falcons. But as of this afternoon, Alshon Jeffrey will play on Sunday, which helps Carson Wentz's offense out. Remember, Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson went down in that game against Atlanta. So now, on the offensive side, he's got 3 top receiving weapons available to him, Nelson Aguilar and, of course, Zach Ertz, also there for Philadelphia. So I don't think they'll be limited offensively whatsoever. And the defense is the place I'd worry about, Drew. There's some injuries over on that defensive side. The secondary hasn't looked great. Matt Stafford and the Lions are throwing for 303 yards per game. Right now we're staring at a 45. I think if you are standing near a sports book, or if you're near your computer or whatever, and you like over in that game, now would be the time to get it, because I think it's going to go back up again.
All right, Robbie, third game up. Baltimore at Kansas City, seeing the Chiefs laying 5.5 in Arrowhead, 52 the total.
You know, we don't have to talk about the offenses too much here, Drew, because it's, you know, publicized every day this week, even dating back to the first week of the NFL season, how well Lamar Jackson has played with the Baltimore Ravens. And, of course, we know how well the offense known as the Kansas City Chiefs performs week in and week out. Last week, they only needed one quarter to beat the Raiders. 4 touchdown passes of 27 yards or more in one quarter by Pat Mahomes. Oakland dared the receivers at the line of scrimmage. They played a man-tight coverage, bump and run style, everybody up aggressively, and KC ran right by him, including Demarcus Robinson, the replacement for Tyreek Hill, who made a name for himself against that type of defense. So it's hard to defend KC. If you zone him, Mahomes picks you apart. If you come up and try and be aggressive and chuck these receivers at the line, they run by you. It's a tough assignment for Baltimore, who's not blessed with the best secondary to begin with. So I could see KC getting their share. LaShawn McCoy looks like he'll be the starting running back. He's going to play. Damian Williams is out for the Ravens. We're going to find out, Drew, because I'm not sold yet, and I don't know where you stand on this, but the Kansas City defense has been improved first 2 weeks of the season. Of course, new defensive coordinator and Steve Spagnuolo, and some new defensive additions there for that team. And they, numbers-wise, points allowed-wise, they've been better. They're going to be tested here by a quarterback in Lamar Jackson who's a true dual threat. Some people seem to be surprised at the way he throws the deep ball so accurately. But if you go back to his Louisville days, that's what they did. Off of those RPOs and stuff or play action passes, when he threw deep, very, very accurate. It's the intermediate stuff that gets him into a little bit of trouble. But KC's going to have their hands full with Baltimore offensively. Total here sits at 52, really universally. So there's not much movement in that in Kansas City from 5 to 5.5. Actually, I think they got up to like 6.5 earlier. There's been some take back on Baltimore the last couple of days. So real good game. Obviously, the two offenses are well stocked, but the defenses in their own right have played well. I'm curious to see how good Kansas City's plays, just for future reference, to see if they're really an improved unit or not.
All right, Robbie, good breakdown there. We got Cincinnati at Buffalo up next. Looks like the Bills laying 6 at home, 43.5 the total, Robbie.
Yeah, this looks like a trouble spot for Cincinnati, Drew. I could totally understand the line movement from an opener of 4 up to 6. Not only, was Cincinnati depleted in the wide receiver category when they lost A.J. Green in the preseason, they overcame that first week of the season and actually put up some big offensive numbers. But now the offensive line, piece by piece, is starting to get injured. We have 3 offensive linemen this week. Michael Jordan definitely out, but tackles Cordy Glenn, who I don't believe played last week, and Andre Smith, both very questionable as we speak. If they lose both tackles plus an inside player, it's going to be troublesome against that Buffalo Bills defense. So be very, very in tune with how that injury situation plays out over the course of the next couple of days here. Cincinnati, like I say, defensively they can't stop anybody. Offensively, if the line comes in as banged up as it appears to be on paper here on Friday afternoon, I could see them having a lot of trouble with a Buffalo team that's picking up nothing but confidence and momentum. Josh Allen's playing great at quarterback right now, directing that team. Couple of wins on the road in the same stadium to start the season has them rolling. So I definitely agree with the line movement there from 4 to 6. The big push on the total from 40.5 up to 44, 43.5, 44. I think that's mostly due to the fact that Cincinnati has been able to score some points and they can't stop anybody once again. So maybe the over is the right way as well, but 44 is a key number. I don't know if I could get there. I just think Buffalo's in a real good spot here situationally in this game with the injuries to the Cincinnati offensive line.
He's Robbie Vino. We got a couple more games on this segment, but just want to turn to your page, Robbie. Man, getting hot in college football, that's for sure. 10-3 out the gate, also off of a 5-0 night last night in terms of MLB, college football, and the NFL game. So good stuff from you, Robbie. And guys, we have a special podcast coupon code to get on Rob Vino's service. Vino Half, that's VENOHALF, Vino Half at checkout for a 7-day all access or is 1 year all access. So you can get his full slate of games, every sport he handicaps, every game for 365 days for half off for the next 48 hours using the coupon code VINOHALF at checkout. 1 year all access or 7-day all access. It will work for both of those services at sportsmemo.com. Coupon code VINOHALF at checkout. Next game up, Robbie, we got Atlanta at Indianapolis, seeing the Colts at a pick'em, -1, -1.5 here. Mostly 1, I'd say, is the consensus number. 47 the total.
Yeah, I would almost like to be against both of these teams here this week, Drew, but you can't be because they're playing each other. There's injuries on both sides that are very, very concerning here. For the Falcons, just like we talked about with the Bengals previously, the offensive line, and we saw it Sunday night against the Philadelphia Eagles, that offensive line getting banged up, having trouble protecting Matt Ryan. They did escape with a victory in that game thanks to Julio Jones at the end. But if Atlanta's offensive line is decimated by a couple of injuries here, could be somewhat troublesome. What negates that a little bit is the fact that Indianapolis loses their all-world linebacker Darius Leonard for this contest. Concussion suffered last week, hasn't cleared protocol. He won't play. He's the heart and soul of that defense. And Atlanta, with any protection for Ryan, I think can attack here. So that's going to be a sore spot for the Colts. You add on to that the fact that their star running back, Marlon Mack, is in all likelihood only going to see limited carries in this game. He's banged up as well. They're down to second and third team running backs. The wide receiving core, we know, was limited heading into last week with the Devin Funchess injury. And somehow they got out of Tennessee with a 19-17 victory. When you look through it statistically, it's not all that impressive. They only gained 288 yards. When you watch Tennessee last night against Jacksonville, it might be even less impressive. So, if you want to take the lesser of two evils here, I think Atlanta certainly is that. And if they are able to field, let's say, 4/5 of their offensive line, I think they're really worth a play in this game. So it could be Atlanta or nothing for me.
Robbie, we got Oakland at Minnesota up next. The Raiders catching 9 in Minnesota, 43.5 the total.
Very difficult to play against the Vikings here for me in this game, Drew. I just think they're head and shoulders better than what the Oakland Raiders are at this point in time. Like I say, last week, Oakland in the second quarter lost a football game, gave up 28 points. I think it was 4 consecutive touchdowns on 4 straight drives. So, the secondary just wasn't good. The pass rush was not good. Obviously, Minnesota's not Kansas City throwing the ball, but there's still Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, and Dalvin Cook running the football. They've got weaponry that I don't know if Oakland can handle in this particular instance. Their offense, though, might be even worse because it just looked dead. The passing game, to me, with Derek Carr at quarterback, after he overthrew a big play pass in the first quarter on the first drive, that offense just went into a shell. And again, like we said earlier, I don't know whether to attribute that to improvement in the Kansas City defense or whether or not Oakland is just that poor offensively. But we've had 2 chances to watch the Oakland Raiders play right now, and I'm not so sure that Oakland's offense is upgraded from last year. Derek Carr just seems to be a dink and dunk type of quarterback at this point in time. The receiving core doesn't really scare anybody vertically. So Minnesota, with the defense that they have, I think should be in good shape here. I would have to play the Vikings or not play at all. I think the Vikings, coming off of that loss last week against Green Bay, were, like I say, they didn't give up a point for the final 43 minutes of that contest. They dug a hole. They came back. They almost got to a point where they could win that game. Just couldn't get there. So I like the Vikings in that game.
All right, Robbie, last game for this segment, then we'll bring Hunter Engelhardt in to finish off the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast each and every Friday throughout football season. We got the New York Jets at the New England Patriots, AFC East battle here with the Pats laying 3 touchdowns, even seeing a 21.5 out there now, 43 being the total.
Yeah, and not much line movement with the breaking Antonio Brown news here. There shouldn't be much line movement. I mean, the guy played 1 game for the Patriots, did catch a touchdown, and obviously they were supremely stocked with offensive weapons with him in the lineup. But without him, they're still supremely stocked. They didn't have him in week one, and they did whatever they wanted offensively. The Jets, just a bad situation for them, especially on a defensive side. We saw it the other night. Of course, they were down to a third-team quarterback, which didn't help. Trevor Siemian now out for the season, and Luke Falk is going to have to start this game while Sam Darnold recovers from mono. But the two key injuries to me, aside from that being an obvious one, Quinnen Williams and C.J. Mosley up the middle of that defense, defensive tackle, middle linebacker, just tough for the Jets to overcome that type of stuff, especially when the foundation of that defense is the front seven because the secondary is no good. New England could probably name the score here. It's a divisional game. Everybody's going to come with focus. New England focused is a scary sight. We saw last week, Drew, I think a little bit out of character, but we saw Bill Belichick throwing a touchdown pass with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter in a game that was 37-0 against the Dolphins to make it 43-0. Now, New England scored a couple of touchdowns in that fourth quarter on interception returns, so really nothing you can do about that. You can't accuse anybody of running up a score when you're bringing interceptions back for 6. But the fact that they were still throwing late in the game might be a sign that Bill Belichick, is out to cover some point spreads. I don't know. I'm sure that's not on his mind, but certainly I think it was something to keep in the back of ours as we go through this season. Maybe New England's not a team that will just sit on leads. Belichick, usually a guy who does what you don't think he's going to do. So it's tough to say, but when you're laying 21.5, you need a team not to lay off the gas pedal in the fourth quarter. They didn't last week as huge favorites against Miami. Not sure that they will at home against the Jets as huge favorites again.
Yeah, that is an interesting concept to the handicap. We normally don't see that, or I guess not a lot of times you have to factor that into the NFL. That's more of like a college football subsector in terms of, is he going to have the gas pedal on or not with these big point spreads? But man, you're right. I mean, we're seeing multiple big point spreads on this card, so it's kind of something NFL bettors are going to have to factor in here with at least 2 games. 2 games with 3 touchdown spreads here, Robbie. Is that something that you're factoring in terms of running up the score, quote unquote? It's not something that I think of. Professional football players getting paid. That's not part of it, really. In terms of running up the score, is that something you're factoring in?
What makes it even crazier about last week's New England touchdown pass with 3 minutes left, Drew, is the fact that the head coach of New England is fresh off of Bill Belichick's staff. If anything, right, common sense would tell you that he won't run it up against Brian Flores, but he did. And it's a divisional rival, and you're going to see him again. So why do you want to hurt him the first time around? Not that Miami can hurt him back the second time, but I'm just saying the Jets, again, same position as a divisional rival. Is it something that we have to figure for with Bill Belichick? I don't know. I really can't answer it right now because, like you said, we don't see this in NFL football. If anything else, we see the gentleman's type of approach taken, just hand the ball off and run the clock out and take our win home. Didn't happen last week with Belichick. We'll see what goes on with Dallas as a 22.5-point favorite over Miami. That's a non-conference situation. Dallas may not see Miami for another 4 years, so if you wanted to run it up there, who really cares? But yeah, we might have to start taking a look at it, Drew. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, good stuff as always, Robbie. And Robbie Vino's a mainstay here on the podcast, college football and NFL, every game on the board for the rest of the football season here. We do have the podcast coupon code VINOHALF, that's VENOHALF, at checkout for his 7-day all access, also for his 1-year all access, up to $1,000 off on that. So you'll get 50% off his 7-day or 1 year using the coupon code VINOHALF at checkout. Robbie, thanks for the time. Have a fun, safe weekend, man, and best of luck with your bets.
Same to you, Drew. Always a pleasure. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, off the 5-0 day, Robbie Vino. Guys, short break, and we'll be right back with Hunter Engelhart. Second segment with Hunter Engelhart. Hunter, welcome into the pod. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Drew. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. First game up on the second segment here. We got the Miami Dolphins at the Dallas Cowboys. Miami Dolphins An interesting handicap. A lot of opinions out there in which way to bet them. We're seeing a big number here, 22.5 or 23. That's the Dallas Cowboys laying at home. 47 the total.
Yeah, I'm staying away from this game, honestly. I think 22.5 is just a little too much. I know Miami is pretty much openly tanking, and they might go 0-16 this year, which I wouldn't be surprised at all. If I had to lean, I would lean towards Dallas minus the points and the under. But this game tonight, on Sunday, is just too unpredictable in my opinion.
All right, man. We got 477, 478 New York Giants at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Looks like the Bucks laying 6 at home, 47.5 the total, Hunter.
Yeah, I actually I'm going to stay away from this one before the game starts, but I'm not against getting involved during live. I'd like to see how Daniel Jones does in the first quarter. I see Tampa Bay trying to contain Saquon Barkley just like they did with McCaffrey when they played the Panthers. So I think if Daniel Jones can get the ball out of his hands quick, short, quick slants, if he's completing a bunch of those, I'm going to look towards the New York Giants live. But other than that, I do like the under in this game too. I think 48 is just too high.
All right, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Arizona Cardinals up next. Looks like the Cardinals laying 2 at home, 44.5 the total.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Carolina at all. I don't think Cam Newton not playing really makes a big difference at all. I think this is Kyler Murray's game. I think he's going to pass all over this Carolina team, and I think David Johnson is going to have a very, very good day on the ground. I think there's going to be more points scored in this game. I think the defenses are a little overrated, so I'm going to lean Arizona and over 44.5.
All right, we got 481, 482 up next. The Houston at the LA Chargers. Looks like the Chargers minus a field goal at home, 49 the total. Hunter.
Yeah, I like the away team in this one as well. I think Deshaun Watson is extremely underrated for how he's been playing this year, and I think this Chargers team is really not that good in my opinion. I wouldn't be opposed to recommending just the Houston money line straight out. And I think 49 is just probably. I think this line should be closer to 53 in my opinion. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be a back and forth game, and I think it's going to be one of the most exciting games to watch in the second half of the games for the 4:25 Eastern time spot. So I'm going to lean. I'm not going to lean. I'm going to say Houston wins this game, and I think there's going to be over 49 points.
All right, we got Pittsburgh at San Francisco up next. 49ers minus 6.5, 44 the total. Pittsburgh, new quarterback in. What are you thinking here, Hunter?
I think this is going to be a blowout. I think San Francisco and those guys with Deebo Samuel. I really like this guy. I think he's just going to run up and down the field on this weak Pittsburgh team. This offense is struggling to find an identity right now. I'd even give San Francisco 7.5 in my opinion. So I'm on the 49ers to cover and the under in this game. Actually, I think 44 is a little too much. I think San Francisco probably puts up high 20s, but I think Pittsburgh, maybe they get a touchdown and a field goal, but I see them not scoring more than 10, 13 points.
All right, good stuff so far. We got the Sunday Nighter and Monday Nighter to go. LA Rams at the Cleveland Browns here, 47.5 the total. 3 or 3.5, important one to shop around here. That's with the Rams laying on the road.
I think Cleveland goes down again tonight. I know they're home, but this LA Rams team, I think the front four of the LA Rams are going to cause a lot of problems for Baker Mayfield back there. I think they're going to force him to make errant throws into coverage, and I think he's going to force a lot of things. I think the LA Rams defense is going to have an awesome game. I see them having maybe 2 picks. So I'm going to take the LA Rams here. Minus 3.5, and I think this is going to be another under game. I don't see Cleveland scoring a lot of points, but I think the Rams will score enough points to still keep it under the 47.5 total.
Okay, and the Monday Nighter, we got Chicago at Washington, 41 the total, with the Bears laying 3.5, mostly 4s on the road.
Yep, and I see right here there's not a lot of lines out for it. I think I only see Heritage and Pinnacle so far at the lines that I'm thinking. I think 4's too much for this game. If it gets down to 3, I would take Chicago, maybe -3. But I think 41-2 is too low. I think this offense finally for Chicago is going to figure some things out. Trubisky, I believe that he is going to figure out a way to use his weapons the right way. We can see Montgomery's getting more involved, Cohen more involved. I think they're figuring out what they have. I know Washington's been pretty much a surprise with their ability to throw the football. So I'm going to go. I'm more on the over 41 this game than I am towards the Chicago minus the points. But that's where I stand on the Monday night game.
All right, good stuff, Hunter. And you can find out Hunter's Englehart's full packages at sportsmemo.com. He's doing great in MLB, 77-73, but plus 50% ROI there with a lot of underdogs in MLB, also his NFL as well. So you can get a discount with Hunter, Hunter 69 at checkout for his 7-day all access. So that will give you both his NFL and MLB, which he's doing really good on the diamond for $30 off of his 7-day all access, normally priced at $99, just $69 with the coupon code HUNTER69 at checkout. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Have a fun, safe weekend. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk on Monday. NFL opening line report with Teddy Covers.